This all sounds good to me. So, well, I would say let's get started. But exactly what are we starting here? What am I doing? What's going on? What can I possibly be? What can this possibly be about? Like that's what it says in the title. Like what's the build? How can you do every build? Well, I could not decide on what build to do for tonight. I know I said I would default to Ranger because that was the D&D Ranger was the most developed build I had in mind, but I did not like the idea of like splitting. Like when I have a full build idea, I like to give it the full weekend to go through the whole thing, right? I don't like to. I just don't like splitting it up, like, you know, one day of a weekend and then split the next day, and then I got to start a new one at the end of the weekend, and it's a bit of a pain to set up because, you know, I got to set up these builds, right? You know, I got to get everything all sorted out and worked and ready to go, and then I copy the file and, you know, I start all over again here. But, you know, when I have to do that like the next day, like, oh well, you know, I got to start a new build the next day, then it's that one little day to work everything out is a little, it's, you know, it's a little bit a tight deadline there. So anyway, I didn't want to do that for Ranger, and I didn't really have any other like one-off builds on mind. Like the Wolverine thing was easy to just set up and throw together because, you know, that's what it is. It's just a simple build to throw together. But I don't really have any. Well, okay, I do have another build in mind that could have been a quick throw together, but I didn't want to do it. It's honestly, it's not that exciting a build. I mean, it could be a build to just play through normally, but it basically just boils down to using a couple weapons and no special abilities or anything. It didn't sound too exciting to me. I don't know. I didn't want to do it, and I didn't want to force it. So I have decided, instead of doing any kind of build, I am just going to do some testing. That's right. That's all it is today. No special runs, no special challenges. Actually, I've done one challenge so far. Nothing exciting or exceptional along those lines. No, I am just testing build ideas. I don't know, maybe you'll get something out of seeing my process. Maybe someone will suggest something better to make the process easier. Maybe we'll have some fun in, you know, suggesting ideas or even pointing out some things I missed or forgot to add to a build. I don't know, but that's the goal for tonight. I am just testing builds. Anyway, I hope someone will enjoy this. Like and subscribe if you do. Notifications, of course. Don't forget to enable notifications. So let's get to the testing. First, let's start out here because I decided to finish off last night with fighting Midra. Like I said, I had to race to avoid all those bosses so I could fit this build into a 2-run build. It was not a very popular build video, so I decided not to kill my. I decided not to put too much effort into committing this build for the whole weekend when it was getting like no views. So, and then I ended up having to come up with a new idea for today. So, but you know, I did say I would get squeeze some of those other fights in. And well, you know, I guess I could do that now. I mean, I did get Midra, I did get Gaius, I did get Sunflower. I did not get Fingers or Putrescent Knight. I don't really want to. Those fights actually ended up going pretty much the way I expected them to. Like, last night I was just off for dodging. My dodge timing was just off. It was an off night for me last night. Even though I did end up beating... Well, okay, I think I used Mimic Tear, so well, whatever. No, my dodge timings last night were crap. And it carried over into Gaius. Gaius was like... I don't know, it was like I might as well just been standing still no matter where he was attacking me. And Sunflower, well, okay, Sunflower was pretty much the same way, but every time I hit Sunflower, you know, in its head, it was like 7,000 HP. It was like, I only had to hit it twice to knock off all its HP off, so it ended up being easy through the sheer raw damage, but it was also pain. And then for some reason, Midra, I expected Midra to be easy, because he moves pretty slowly, and as long as his attacks aren't really that hard to dodge, except for the big fire attack in the center. So, and you can pretty easily staggered, so I figured I could just, just a bunch of jump attacks and all this. But no, he ended up being a bit of a pain. Because I just could not dodge my attacks last night. I don't know, I was awful last night, so I decided not to do fingers and Putrescent Knight, because Putrescent Knight is really hardcore for dodging. You gotta dodge or shield. Actually, shield's even better against Putrescent Knight, but if you're dodging, you gotta dodge everything Putrescent Knight has, because he has such long attack chains, so you gotta dodge and dodge and dodge and dodge before you can find an opening. Fingers is probably not so bad in that sense, but there's also a lot of dodging to do if she's focused on you. I don't know. I didn't want to do those two, and it would take an extra. Well, it was like 5 a.m. by the time I finished last night, which is really an unacceptable time. But I was also watching. I had a baseball game, and I was like, I was being stubborn last night, even though I was tired. So. Well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna go to fingers. I'm not gonna go to pure Knight. Honestly, setting that up could take like a half hour, 40 minutes just to do all that. So no, I'm gonna stick to my plan. I am just gonna do build testing, like I said I would. Why do I have? It doesn't matter if I have that here. This is testing. That's all I'm doing. So let's look at my list. Okay, what's on my list of things to try? Because, I know I've mentioned builds in the past, but... What's this? Alright, I've suggested builds in the past, but the reality is I don't actually suggest a build for any of these streams until after I've tested, or at least sort of like had a good think about whether it's possible or not. But for tonight, I'm just going to do everything. Well, not everything, but like anything that's tested. Like, for example, I'm not going to do Ranger. I know Ranger is in the thumbnail picture, but I've already tested... Ranger doesn't really need much in the way in testing. He's fine. Dual-wield swords, a spear. What was it? For buffing, he just needs to do some kind of area buff of some kind. And there's plenty of options for that, and then a bunch of animals. So let's start. But tonight, I'm not. If I mention a build, I've pretty much already determined that there's something to work with there. But tonight, I'm just doing stuff that I haven't even really thought about yet. I just had the idea. Like last night, I don't know why, I just suddenly had ideas flooding to me. And I just started writing down, and I only wrote down things that looked like they could really work. I went through more World of Warcraft classes, and I did a second run through of what could work and what could not. But then I had other ideas from actually Dark Souls games, and those worked all way better in general. Because of course they would work. A lot of stuff in Elden Ring and from previous games were from the games in the franchise, right? So anyway, let's start with a Ornstein and Smo build. Yeah, you hear that? Ornstein and Smo. I hope it's Smo. I think it's pronounced Smo. So you're probably wondering, okay, how do you do an Ornstein and Smo build? Well, the easy answer is, what seems like the most simplest answer from the beginning is just dress as Ornstein, get a lightning spear of some kind, throw some lightning bolts, whatever, and then just find a summon, get some kind of, it's easier to give it a friend to play Smo, right? But my friends don't play Elden Ring. So, I decided, first off, I'm not sure if there's any summon in the game that can equate to Smo, but then I thought about, what's actually in Elden Ring. I realized, you know what? It's way easier to do it the other way around. Yeah. Play Smo and then try and find anyone who can take the place of Ornstein. So, that will be the first test tonight. And I think it will work. So, first off, Smo has that hammer, the big-ass hammer, and there are really not many hammers that look like that. But there is one, and even though it is fire-centric, unfortunately it's a fire-centric hammer, it does look like Smo's hammer. So, and yeah, I know, it's not Smo's hammer. It's not exactly the same, but it's sort of similar in execution and function. It does have that sort of like big flat, like he had like it's like a big flat face that sort of cones. I know it's a bit of a stretch to say they're similar looking, but in terms, I mean, if it weren't for all the little the flames, like these flame petal effects are going on in the metal, then it would actually look similar to his hammer. But here's the thing. This is the thing that matters most. Okay, that's... You can't tell there because I get stuck. No, this is what matters most. That. Because Smo does this. This is one of his special attacks. So, yes, I'm doing fire. Yes, it's fire damage. There's fire going on. I don't know what to tell you there. But that is Smo's special attack. So, even though there's fire, I have to use it. And look, I can actually change this. I can change the Ash of War. I didn't even know that. I thought it was stuck using that. So I can use this as Smo's attack. Yeah. So I got to use this hammer, even though it's not perfectly Smo's hammer, but it's the most similar looking, aside from the color and extra little fire effects. And that's Smo's attack, special attack. So yeah, this hammer is definitely it. Now for the next key thing about Smo, I mean, he's done. There's not much I have to really think about here with him. His big butt slam attack. Yes, he has a butt slam attack, in case you have forgotten. So, and a holy one at that. It's not just a butt slam. It's a great big blast. Now I don't remember if it's a lightning blast or not. It doesn't matter. I only have 2 options, but I'm pretty sure it's a holy blast. Oh right, you know what? He smashes Ornstein, and then it becomes a lightning butt blast. So, well, that's okay because it may not be lightning, but it's flashy, and that's my only option. So, in terms of Smo's attacks and abilities, yes, I do have to have to work out some way to deal with this part that the hammer. I can't have both of those 2 abilities at the same time, but I'll have to work something out in some way. But yeah, I got Smo covered, at least between the hammer and this ability. I got Smo covered. I mean, what else does he really do? When he swings his hammer around, he does butt slams. He does that thing where he like mops the floor with the hammer. Now it's just a matter about achieving the look. First, we gotta look fat. And I'm not just trying to say anything. That's just how his armor looks. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing like Smo's armor in Elden Ring, at least as far as I can tell. Now, that's not true. There is this. There's Lionel's armor. I meant in terms of his actual original look, right? Like, it wasn't just like the big round shoulders and the big belly, but also the armor actually includes boobs. I don't know what to tell you. It does. They just do. If you remember Smo's armor, that they very clearly, like, the armor very clearly portrays boobs. They're big, fat man boobs, but they're boobs. So I don't know what to tell you. And they're quite big. So I don't know what to tell you. That's Smo's armor. That's what it does. Now there's nothing like that here in Elden Ring. So this is what I got. And there is no booby armor in our Elden Ring, so my next options will be anything that looks similar. Now, I know there's Lionel's set, but I gotta go more gold, because Smo's armor is golden. Now, unfortunately, there's no choice to make this golden. The best I can do is put on the malformed dragon's... What's his... I forget what his armor, what his helmet looks like. It's also heavily stylized. I'm gonna have to look that up. It definitely doesn't look like this. Oh, the tree sentinel helm? No, that looks stupid. So I gotta get the gold somewhere. So the malformed, the malformed dragon armor definitely gets the gold in there. That's good. But I'm gonna have to look up Smo's armor. I don't quite remember what his armor looks like. Or, I mean, his head armor. I obviously remember what his main body armor looks like. Okay. It's basically just a round head. Oh, and I'm looking at his armor. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those boobs are big. He's got big booby armor. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's just how his armor looks. That's what it looks like. They're not even like being like somewhat smallish fat man boobs. They're huge. But we are looking at his head. It's just like a little head, like this funny little round head with a face. So it's going to be an armor with a face on it. No, I mean that is what the Smo has, but this looks a little too stylized. Well, okay, no, they're both stylized armor. This helmet is very. That doesn't look like just a little funny little round head. It looks like an actual face. So let's see if there are other options that are just. Oh, that's actually close. Okay, that's close. Okay, this is really close actually to what Smo has, but I just don't want to. Yeah, no, actually that works, but I don't want to do that one. I'd rather use Freya's armor. But okay, so all I really need to determine here is if I have good options for the look, and I definitely have options. And sometimes I just switch helmets or something depending on what day it is. So we'll go to Freya's armor for now. Also, it's gold, so I wish. Is there any big belly armor that works that's golden? No. I need the big belly armor. Gotta have a big belly. Also the boobs, but Nah, well, I mean, this has a big belly, but it's not really armor, is it? It's a little too funky looking. All right, well, I'm pretty much limited to just this. So it's a clash of colors. That's for sure. There's no denying that. But that is Smo. Now, creating Ornstein would actually be easier. But I think it'd actually be more fun to play Smo, because I haven't really used Butt Slam before, or Prelate's Charge. And this was much easier to set up, I think. And I think just a guy with a Lightning Spear is not... I mean, I know there is, in fact, a Lightning Spear in the game, but that spear is too stylized, whereas Ornstein's spear is more of a basic spear. So that couldn't work. I mean, I know what a thing to pick on, but this testing stuff, I know you think, how do you fill a whole stream with just doing testing for new builds? You'd be surprised. I've spent a few hours testing just one build in the past. So this is actually going fast. So now the X key part, to get Ornstein, to summon Ornstein, I have to find a Spirit Ash that can fill in for Ornstein. Because it's Smo and Ornstein. And I'm pretty sure there's none that can fill in for Smo. Which is why one of the other reasons why I decided it'd be easier to be Smo. Because, see, Mad Pumpkin, oh, Mad Pumpkin can be Smo. I'm like, not really. So, is there anyone here who can fill the role of Ornstein? Let's try Finley. Okay, first off, it's a girl. And he's got a sword, and these are all, unfortunately, I mean, Or is it a girl? You know, it's not really important. You can't even tell, really. But... was that Divine Vow she just used? You know what? I don't know if it's a girl or not. It's not important. It's Ornstein, but... yeah, Ornstein doesn't do that, so... unfortunately, Finley is not gonna be a good option. And it's also... I mean, they gotta use a spear. Yeah, no. Although, if I have to choose someone right now, it would be Finley. Okay, so now... okay, where's my Spirit Ashes? Okay, now what? Finley, Lutal. Lutal is a sword and shield. Okay, yeah, Finley's a girl. So, Lutal the Headless, no. Ornstein does have a head, unfortunately. Redmane, Olga. Not Olga, Oha. Oa. Oa? I don't know. But this is a bow. This is an archer, so... that's not an option. Ancient Dragon Knight Kristoff. Alright, let's see how this goes. Lindell Knight, yeah. I got the spear. The look is not right, but if you throw lightning bolts, then this pretty much just ends it. But it's a Lindell Knight, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be no... ooh, shit, that's, holy crap. I mean, he's not a dedicated spear user, but unfortunately, that's probably my best shot for Ornstein right there. I mean, lightning. Well, that wasn't awkward. Okay, we may have just found our Ornstein. I mean, it's not quite right, but that lightning spam... I mean, I know Ornstein doesn't spam lightning, but... that's not... I think I could do a lot worse, really. But let's look at other options. Mira, new. Black Flame, Omen Killer, new. No. Trisha. Hughes, no. Hild, that's fire. Black, no, that's a double sword, no. Bloodhound Knight, no. Engvall. Well, at least that's a spear. That's about it, that's it. And we'll try Engvall. No, that's... well, it's a halberd, not a spear. And it doesn't quite look like Ornstein, but... I mean, you have to use lightning. Oh, storm attacks. Whoa. He's got storm spells. Ooh. Oh, he's useful. Okay. Engville is... Oh, wow, that's quite the cod piece there. Engville is definitely more fun than I was expecting him to be, but looks like we found our Ornstein. It will be... let's back on the other page. Well, anyway, you saw who our Ornstein's going to be. Yep, so Smo and Ornstein build run, yeah, it's very viable. It's not perfect, but all I have to do is figure out a way to get Holy Bum Slam and Prelate's Charge working at the same time. The look is not perfect, the colors are off, but those are all of Smo's abilities. I got my Bum Slam, and without Bum Slam, the hammer does do his attack where he pushes the hammer along the ground. Granted, this creates fire, but hey, it's the same ability, so I got to use it. And the axe, well, they weren't all red and fiery looking and like all these colors. It is actually pretty similar to how Smo's actually probably is Smo's hammer, just reskinned. So, and our little friend there, Kristoff, not the best looking Ornstein, but he's a spear user who can spam lightning. That works. It's viable. It's just not a perfect fit, but it's at least looks wise, but in execution wise, it works. So yeah, Smo and Ornstein. That is a workable build. Okay, so that's one down, and I'm actually glad that one works because sounds like a fun little idea to try. I mean, it's not that exciting, but you know, I'm using skills and abilities here I've never really used. I mean, remember, I haven't actually fully played through Elden. Well, okay, I've played through Elden Ring now, like every weekend for the last couple months, but I haven't used all the spells and skills and abilities. It was just sword and board. Now, it's only now that I'm using all the different spells and abilities. So it was like last night was the first time I learned that the dual Great Giant Crusher build is by far my highest HP damaging build. I mean, you didn't see it in the game, but I hit a dragon for 12,000 HP like afterwards. So it's my highest damage ability, like by far. Okay, next, let's see. Nameless King build. Okay, Nameless King build. Yes, I was looking at a lot of Dark Souls 3 classes last night. So, Nameless King. Let's get naked. Hey, Arthas. We're still on Arthas. So, viability of Nameless King. I think this one's not too bad either. So, obviously we're going to use the Serpent Hunter because I think it looks extremely similar to the Nameless King's spear. Well, he didn't really use a spear. Like anyway, the Serpent Hunter is very similar to the Nameless King's spear. So where? Wait, no, that wasn't. So where is the Nameless King's spear? Okay, there we go. And it doesn't. Well, I'll have to double check later, but I'm pretty sure it's very similar looking. Does this still have all its special abilities? No. That could actually make things a little tricky now. I do Nameless King. How he looks. I don't think it's too hard to duplicate how he looks. He actually has. It's very similar to Radahn's armor. Where is it? First, I need my fuzzy top. I need that fuzzy top head. Fuzz top. Where are you, fuzzy top? Fuzzy top. Where's the fuzzy top? Oh, there you go. Young Lion's Hound. Not fuzzy enough. Alright. Yeah, I do believe Nameless King had a helmet that looked like that. And as for the rest of Nameless King's armor, I'm gonna have to look it up, but we don't want our guy running around naked, so we're just gonna give him something. Whatever it is. I'll have to work on it later. Actually, I think it's also pretty similar to the Malformed Dragon build. Let's see here. Where is Young Lion? Alright, we'll just keep him from being naked. So, actually, equating the look of the Nameless King is not too hard. Or at least in terms of just getting the right armor and the helmet and stuff like that. But the colors, obviously, I'm not going to be able to match the colors. Right, like Smo and Ornstein, obviously, their colors were all wrong, but I was able to get all their abilities. Now, Nameless King is tricky. That is the spear that most closely looks like his weapon. But now his abilities were like... Well, first of all, and I know the answer to this already, the best thing to have now would be some way to summon a dragon. A full-size dragon. Wouldn't that be awesome? But alas, it is not an option. Because there are no full-size dragon summons in the game. So the best I can do, as stupid as this would sound, I would have to summon Floorsax. She's a dragon. She is a little dragon, but she is a dragon, so that will have to work. Now, I don't actually have her, because I went for her weapon, but I would have to get her. So that would have to be what works there. Now, I am going to need to equip some other weapon that can use abilities for now. Now, how is a Great Spear? So let's get ourselves a Great Spear, because I need to do testing. So let's see, where's those Great Spears? Great Spears, where are you? Great Spears. Okay, lances. Let's just go for this. Where'd you go? Okay. Not the Nameless King's Spear, but it will allow me to equip abilities. See, there's a problem right there. While the Serpent Hunter most looks like what he had, I think, I can't equip any Ashes of War to it. But we're just testing what works, right? Whoops. So what does the Nameless King have? So I think he shoots... What were his abilities? There was a lightning... I think he had a lightning spear of some... I haven't fought him for a while, but I'm pretty sure he can, like, summon a lightning bolt with his... Yeah, like, well, he picks them up and he throws them, so... Now, in terms of throwing lightning bolts, like, as a spell, that's easy to replicate, because all I need is the faith and whatever. Hey, Emma. I think it'd be pretty easy to replicate a lightning bolt with, Nameless King. Good. Pretty damn hot, though. So, replicating the Nameless King's lightning bolt is not hard. I just gotta get faith and, all that. But we are looking... I'm pretty sure, though, he has an ability that he attacks from his sword as well, or the spear. So, what do we got? Mesmer's Sacred Spear. Now, I do know there is a... Wait, isn't there one for lightning bolts? It's just a typical Saturday night. Not exciting. Or Sunday. Oof. Yeah, you can tell I was up until 5 a.m. last night. Gee, are there any lightning bolt spell? Solar's Lightning Spear. Thunderbolt. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we got our Summon Lightning Bolt for a Great Spear. So that's not going to be hard. So we got the lightning covered. But what does the... He also has like a quick dash, right? The Nameless King, he has this really quick dash. You mean in Elden Ring or just in Dark Souls in general? Because this particular stream is focused on like everything. I'm trying to recreate like all sorts of different Dark Souls bosses here. So let's see. Okay, so Nameless King has like a dash. In terms of spectacle, I have two different classes of bosses. In terms of how fun they are to fight, in terms of spectacle, or actually even mechanics-wise, I like Dancing Lion for mechanics. I like Malakath for spectacle, and just for sheer fun of it. Well, actually, that can change by the months. Which one I just find more fun. It depends on these. Now that I'm 2 months into this whole thing where I do different builds, like any build you're using can completely change how a boss feels. So now I don't have any specific answer for what my most fun boss is anymore. Because how the two great axes, Belenia is interesting. Yes, she's more fun when you fight her with double blades. I'll tell you that. Fighting her with a cannon, not so fun. All right, so you know what? I don't think it'll be too hard to recreate Nameless King in Elden Ring, because I don't know about the dash attack, but the storm attacks. You can create the storm. You can fling. What is this one? You can storm stomp, storm caller. I think Nameless King is viable for a build. I'm just going to have to figure out what to do about his weapon, because Serpent Hunter is definitely the most similar looking to his weapon. But I can't have any Ashes of War on it. So I'm going to have to work that out. But this one is viable. Okay, again, this whole stream, because I couldn't decide on what build to do for the final day of the stream, I didn't want to break up my builds. I didn't want to start the D&D Ranger build and then have to go back to it next weekend. I decided to do this instead. So now I'm just showing you guys how I go about coming up with these build ideas, right? Because if I mention I'm doing a build, it's usually after I've tested it. If you've seen some of my previous streams, she's given me a hard time too, but she's also been really easy. It is shocking when she's easy and when she's not. Like, I am shocked at how easily she can be beaten with any of the birds. Any of the summoned birds shockingly throw her off. But also do the ninja build, or actually Black Knight, the Death Knight Tish, what's her? Black Knife Assassin Tish absolutely owns Belenia. Almost solos her. I was shocked. I had to stop using her. I thought it was unfair. Okay, so Nameless King is viable, but he's definitely going to be a little funky. So what's the next on my list? Usually when I mention I'm doing a build in these streams, I've already decided, worked out that they're viable. But the list I'm going through tonight, I haven't worked these out yet. So what is next? Actually, I got a whole list. I likely won't go through the whole list tonight, because believe it or not, it can take me hours to test these sometimes. Sister Fried. You remember Sister Fried from Dark Souls 3? Cool Mansion, you mean Midra? From the DLC, Midra? Firehead. His head looks like a flaming asshole. So yes, Sister Fried from Dark Souls 3 is also on my list. Now, honestly, I don't think it'll be too hard to recreate her. Well, okay, we're going to be dressing up this guy as Sister Fried, but he's just going to have to tough it out. So, first let's get rid of this. Oh wait, I didn't put anything on there. So, Nameless King will work. Sister Fried. First lie. Just 15 times? I think the first time I fought her, I died however many times you can fit within 4 or 5 hours. I wish it was just 15 times. So, let's see. Sister Fried is... And I haven't seen Fried for a long time, so I'm not sure how she quite looks. So, but any cowl is going to work. The real trick is going to be getting her robes. Some nun robes, and I don't know if there's anything in Elden Ring that quite captures her roby look. No, it's black. It's gotta be black. Sister Fried's robes, I'm pretty sure, are more blackish. This might be tricky. This guy might have to be one of those. Oh wait. That works. That could work. Oh, but she has a skirt. So let's... Oh boy, Snow White skirt. Well, that's a skirt, but... Okay, well, I'll have to look up Sister Fried's look. Well, that's not too bad. Obviously, the next key issue with Sister Fried is the scythe. And she doesn't use a weird-looking scythe. Where is that scythe? Scythe. I don't know if it's scythe or scythe. I think it's actually just scythe. But I like saying scythe. It sounds more fun. Obsidian Laniat. Believe it or not, she just uses a very simple... black skirts? Oh, hey, Ra, I didn't see you there. If they have black skirts, I would definitely need to... But you know what? I should really look up Sister Fried. How she... But that's not that important. I think replicating the look of Fried is not too big a deal. Now, I do know for sure that she uses a scythe, but it's not... Not yet. I am still too small to even, like, try. I'm still working all this stuff out. I am only just started working out how to use, like, live stream, like, with OBS and all that stuff, but I couldn't get audio to work. So I'm still working that stuff. And this build is basically so wildly experimental. I did not want to, like, oh, first build on Twitch is like me just saying, how do I do a build? No. So, although I really should have done my World of Warcraft builds, I really should have done those because those are my most popular streams by far. I should not have taken so long, but oh well. I was not well. I wasn't feeling well last week. All right, so Sister Fried, she doesn't have a weird-looking sky. It's like she doesn't have a weird. She's very anime. We know she's very, very anime, but her actual weapons are not anime. So we're gonna just have to use the plain old scythe. It's really my only option. She doesn't use a weird-looking scythe, and unfortunately, there is no. Like, hers is more of a bluish color, I think. It has like a sort of like a blue steel thing going on, but none of the other scythes look like that. Plus, I need to test things here, and I don't quite remember all of her abilities exactly, but I do know Sister Fried. We do know she goes invisible, and I'm pretty sure. I think there's something here. Shriek of Sore. That there may be... Oh, wait. You know, it depends really on the weapon. I think only daggers can have... The Asher Ward makes you go invisible. But that's okay. What's really important for her is Chilling Mist. Yeah, obviously, yeah. It'll be frosted, definitely. Her dice will be frosted, so it's cold damage. Now, I can't quite remember what her frost abilities were. Thankfully, I have Hoarfrost Stomp and Chilling Mist. So, in terms of getting some sort of frost ability, that'll be easy. Right? Now I just got to figure out some way to make her go invisible. Not that that's worth going invisible, because nothing in PvE is affected by invisibility, right? So... But thankfully, there are lots of spells that do, so I could always make up for it in the spell department. Are they in the incantations, or... Let's see, incantation. Incantation. I don't see anything. Well, thankfully that is not a big deal. I do not need to go invisible with her. I am working on it. Yes, I started working on it. I was planning on doing it. I was planning on doing it before I started the World of Warcraft Death Knight streams, but then I got busy. I should have that. I should have all the assassin books. So, yeah, I was planning on upgrading the channel and learning more about video editing and all that stuff before starting the Death Knight World of Warcraft builds, but I just didn't get around to it, and then the last week I was just not feeling well. So I'm starting to work on that now. But first I gotta see if I can make any of this stuff work. I did make a cool logo and banner, and then the file got corrupted. And I have to learn about all these things about video editing. Like I got the whole thing made up and set up and recorded, but then it turns out that just because a file is an MP4 file doesn't necessarily mean all MP4s are created equal. So I gotta learn about all that stuff. So, but okay, why I'm getting thrown off? So there should be an incantation, like was suggested, that makes me go invisible. But it's I'm not gonna get focused. It's not important to go invisible. Obviously, it's one of her abilities, but it doesn't work in PvE anyway. If I turn invisible, bosses are still gonna attack you, so it's not important. And you guys know I just run through everything, so it doesn't matter. So I think in terms of creating the look and the scythe and the frost and all, that's easy. The hard part is the third phase, when she goes anime. Now we're talking her... I guess they're black... I'm not really... I don't quite... It's been a long time, I don't remember. I am not in the phase of doing any of that sort of thing. I'm not that far along yet to do anything that special, and I couldn't afford it anyway. So I'm trying to keep this down to just right now to just simple streaming, simple graphics. This is all just practice for things I'm going to do later, and the more I go along, honestly, I'm starting to feel like I'd rather keep it more simple, so I'm not there yet to even start talking about all the things. Plus, I have 2 family members that also do all that stuff. So I actually have family that does all that sort of thing, so that's okay. Thanks a lot, but not there yet. Not even close to being there yet. Okay, so where was my train of thought? Right, Sister Fried's third phase. It's like Black Flame, right? So, Sister Fried in the third phase... Avatar? What do you mean by Avatar? You mean like Airbender? Or Avatar, the blue cat girl movie? Oh, yeah, I thought about that. It's on the list. I thought about it for a minute. What ended up happening there was... it sort of turned into Kung Lao, the Kung Lao build idea, which I don't have to test here. I think there's more than enough to do that. Yeah, and I like Kung Lao because you got the martial arts. There's the martial art weapons. You got Dane's hat, and there is divine spells that are literally throwing circles. You know, the discuses, and that's like throwing his hat, right? Like Kung Lao throwing his hat. So I figured that's just too perfect. I kept it that way. As far as Airbender, I don't want to have like a whole series of builds that are just martial arts builds, right? Because then I'm just using the same weapons over and over again. But it could work. I just haven't really thought about it that much. Okay, let's finish up with Sister Fried. So we're in her phase 3 when she goes all anime. I'm pretty darn sure she goes heavy, like hardcore on Black Flame spells. Now I haven't fought her for a while, so I don't quite remember everything she does. But I'm pretty sure the Black Flame spells are what we're going to be talking about here. So, are there any Ash of Wars? Because honestly, an Ash of War Black Flame makes things so much easier. Because then it's simpler to fit this all in. So wait. Okay, no, I'm just looking at my inventory right now. So let's try. Are there any Black Flame abilities that are Ash of Wars? Black Flame Ash of Wars. Airbender would actually probably be pretty easy because of all the storm spells. Actually, you know what? That's probably a better utilization of the storm abilities. Because I originally just thought of like a Storm Knight, but that isn't an interesting build. That's just recreating mobs from within Elden Ring, and that's not... Yes, it would be an interesting build, no, but it's not that creative, if you get what I'm saying. So I'm not interested in just recreating builds from the game. Like, another example was... The build I was actually going to do tonight was the Rajput Warrior build. And if you know what the Rajputs are... Rajputs are very famous for guitars, the whip sword, and the chakram. I didn't know they created the chakram, and the square-shaped swords, which are all in Elden Ring. But ultimately, it's just a weapon build. I'm just saying, okay, I'm against the guy using a specific weapon. And yes, the guitar is a good weapon, but it's not that exciting. And that sword whip is... Honestly, all whips suck in Elden Ring, but I didn't think it was that exciting. It's just a weapon. I'm just using... It's just a choice of weapons build. There's nothing else to it. I wouldn't be able to use any special abilities or anything because they're just, there's nothing special about a historical... They're a historical warrior that were known for making some interesting weapon designs, but other than that, there's really nothing else to go on. I mean, it could be fun for just playing by myself, personally, off stream or something like that. Sure, because the guitar is a fun little weapon, but otherwise, there's nothing else to it. Yes, Firebender would definitely work because there's a lot of fire abilities here, but that would depend if I can use an Ash of War with it. Right? I mean, I don't have to use an Ash of War with a fist weapon, but, if the fist weapons don't have Ash of War options, then it can't do it. But yeah, that's certainly possible. Storm was possible. Oh, unless I can't use Storm on fist. Water, I don't think there are really any water options. It's just Frost. Anyway, yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea, but I don't want to do, 3 straight martial arts builds, so just punchy-kicky. So let's finish off with Sister Fried. So I don't think there are any Black Flame Tornado. Okay, so here they all are. Black Flame, Black Flame, Black Flame, Black Flame. Okay. Alright, now let's see what I can actually put on the sky. That's what I should have done in the first place. Keep in mind, although I'm trying to recreate these characters as closely as possible, it's more important to recreate the result rather than necessarily be perfect to the build. Because if I'm Sister Fried, I'm jumping around, swinging Black Flame everywhere, then it doesn't matter if I'm necessarily doing with a scythe or a sword, as long as I'm recreating the character. Okay, so... Alright, so Black Flame... Yep! I don't know if Fried ever does that in the fight, but yep, that works. Now, I got to look at other Black Flame options. See, this is how some of these build things and research can take a while. These can take hours sometimes, because I got to go through every weapon and see, and even I watch videos, but I'm pretty sure, where is that two-handed sword? I think there's a dual weapon that is a Black Flame weapon, and I must have went past it. So where is it? It's the Ruinous Ghost Flame. Okay, I know what Ruinous Ghost Flame does, but she doesn't do that. Sister Fried doesn't do anything like that. Ghost Flame, she doesn't really do anything. She does a lot of attacks where she hits the ground and all this fire goes flying at you in a cone. And she does it around her, and she jumps in the air and comes down with a smash. That's what I remember, but again, I haven't seen, so... That's a Holy Itself. That can't be hers. Where is... Oh, I think I have it here already. Oh, yeah, Queen's Black Flame. Okay. And there's the dual blade. I gotta get the double blade. There's the double blade, double blade, double blade, double blade, double blade. Double blade, Black Flame Tornado. Wait, I think I just used Black Flame Tornado. Yes, I did. Okay, so... I'm not going to be able to recreate this weapon because I don't have the stats, but... I think I remember what that does. Yeah, it also helps re-spec to proper stats to do all these spells and abilities. But that's okay. Actually, no, wait, that's not going to be hard to recreate at all. There's Faith. Ooh, yes it will. Yes, it will. so dexterity, and I need some faith. Ooh, still need more faith. Oh no. Will you be able to get there? Ah, well, I'm not gonna be able to get there, but that's okay. I think I remember what this sword does, and that is definitely Sister Freedy. So, in terms of recreating her ability with the scythe, no problem. In terms of third phase, that's the tricky one. But as long as I have the abilities, I think it's more important than necessarily recreating them perfectly, even if the weapons aren't quite right. So, this build's viable. It's viable. Okay, next up on the list. And I think it'll be fun, too, to do that one. Alright, what's next on the list? Okay, this one, Pontiff Sylvain. Yes, you remember him from Dark Souls 3. Pontiff Sylvain is on the list. Actually, he's a fun one because he's one of the few characters that I can legitimately use the Mimic tier with. Because that's his thing. He creates a shadow of himself. So I would be allowed to use the Mimic tier. Well, I mean, I'm always allowed to use the Mimic tier, but, you know, more safely use the Mimic tier. So, with the Pontiff, we need clerical clothes. I do believe there's a fair amount of that in the game. I don't know if I can recreate it perfectly. But first I need a bishop's hat. You know what? I don't remember him perfectly. It's been a long time since... You know, I'm not going to get too focused on how he looks this time because it's been a long time since I've seen him. He's a guy I'm going to have to, like, have his picture next to the computer while I'm going through this. But so I'm not just standing here naked. Okay, I think the thing that really matters for him is the weapon. Here's the tricky one. Because he has one weapon that glows with fire, and one that glows blue with some kind of magic enchantment. I'm not sure what it is. I saw the fight, and it doesn't really seem to do anything in particular. The fire sword is like all sorts of blast stuff. Like I definitely know what this fire sword does. But the trick is, I need to have two long great swords, but one great sword is very short and the other one very long. Now I don't think it'll be hard finding one long sword for him to swing, but another great sword that's short. Rolana and Pope. Oh, yeah, you're right. But, so how are we going to do... Pontiff Sylvain's swords... Yeah. So, Pontiff Sylvain's swords... They actually aren't that exciting looking. They're not, like, particularly unique looking. So... Let's start with... Let's not go with Colossal Swords, because I like the idea of dual wielding them. Because he doesn't actually dual wield. Yes, I know he dual wields sword, but he doesn't actually dual wield them in use. He uses one attack for wide swipes, and his other sword he uses for short, quick swipes. So he's not actually dual wielding. He's dual carrying them. But the way he uses them is not in terms of dual wield. But I am going to dual wield them, so we need one very long... Okay, the Claymore, the Bastard Sword is the shortest great sword, and now we need one really long one. I think the Lord Sword and Great Sword will work for that. So, where is... Where am I? Okay, so Lord Sword and... Not too bad. It's not terrible. Is there any longer great swords that are not colossal swords? Anything longer? Longer. Oh, right. Okay, well, the Flamber is actually leveled up at the moment, so it's a good option to test. Milos. Alright, so now I gotta be able to put Ashes of War on them. Okay, I think the Flamberge will work. No, it's a little bit longer. Or just my imagination. Well, this is probably just going to... For testing purposes, this is going to have to do for now, because his swords are actually not particularly exemplary looking. I guess even better would be like Rolana. Just use Rolana. Shit, Rolana's swords. Oh, yeah, that is an option, isn't it? I keep forgetting. I don't have any of the remembrance weapons on me, because I hold them on hand. No, Rolana's swords are... Okay, Rolana's swords do fit the look. One's flame, one's blue, right? But I don't have any options for what ability... Well, I've never used them. Maybe they do. Alright, well, let me look at my list here. One weapon has to be... One is... Main hand weapon is much longer, and it's red and glowing. The left hand is glowing but shorter, but it's blue. However, I'm not sure exactly what kind of effect his offhand weapon is. I don't know if it's just magic. There's no frost damage. Well, maybe the frost damage in Dark Souls 3? I don't think so. I don't remember. But it's blue. So, but I don't know if it... I think it's just plain magic damage. He's a legit Mimic tier user, yes. Sword, AOT... Okay, so... AOT Fire Blast on the sword. Now, in terms of enchanting the swords, that's easy because they're always enchanted. I don't have to worry about like enchanting afterwards. They're always enchanted. So one's always going to be red, one's always going to be blue. Whatever the blue is, I don't know, frost, whatever, it's going to be what it is. So what we need now to focus on is... Actually, there's another spell I'm missing from the list. Also, I think he has that ring. Pawn of Sylvian's ring. I have to... if there's anything like that in Elden Ring, I got to equip it. That's the law. I have to equip his ring. So let's see. We need a Fire Blast. So Flaming Strike, Flame of the Red Veins. Yeah, I think this is going to work. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I'm also going to have to test Rolana's swords now, because I know now they actually look exactly like his swords. They're just not the same. They're not like different lengths. But I don't know what the abilities are on Rolana's swords. Now, if they're the same abilities, then that's Pontiff Sylvan. But he does... I'm actually missing one from the list. He has another ability on the list that I'm missing. Alright, so... Wait. Why is this not on here? Oh, it's on the other side. Oh, that's fine. We'll just use it on this one. No. That's not right. It's more like a cone. Oh, he throws a soul spear and soul wave. Right. I don't remember what those look like, but I have it. It's on my list. So yeah, but his blade is always on fire for the whole fight, so I don't have to worry about applying afterwards, thankfully. So thankfully, because he's a pontiff, I know he doesn't like use any like incantations, or maybe he does use incantations for his fight. It's legit, so I can use them. So that's so I can fill up any missing abilities from incantations, and there's a lot of fire incantations. Fire Bastard Sword, Flaming Strike. I know what Flaming Strike does. Flame of the Great Manes. This Flame Skewer. Flame Spear. Okay, let's do this. It's on the other sword, stupid. It's not exactly a big flaming cone of fire, but it's close. I mean, it's workable. Okay, now what about a flaming... No, wait, let me bring that back up. Let's see, have to... Where is it? Okay. Throw a soul spear, a soul wave. No, that should not... Glintstone Pebble? No. Phalanx? No. Carrying sword? If I can only throw it. I don't know what a soul wave is. I'm guessing it's just like like a wide, just like a crescent wave. Might not be able to replicate that part of the ability, but I'm pretty sure any of these carrion swords will have to. I don't know. Throw a soul spear. I might have to replicate the result more than anything, so I might have to use vacuum slice instead, rather than using the proper ability, because vacuum slice is definitely a. And then where's Stormblade? Stormblade and vacuum slice, right? So it's not horizontal, but I might have to go with that. Replicate the result, if not necessarily the result, the exact ability. But the goal here today was not to try and perfectly recreate the characters. That's what I do later. But I can mark off Pontiff Sylvain as viable, because if I'm missing just one or two abilities, then it's okay. What else do I have on this list that I can look at? Abyss Watcher. Oh, the Abyss Watcher. Yes, the Abyss Watchers. Okay, Abyss Watcher. What do they got? They got a stupid little pointy helmet. Pointy helmet. Yeah, I mean, it's not that kind of pointy helmet, but it's a pointy helmet. No, like a really weird conical helmet. It's kind of like they stuck their head in like a tall wizard, like one of the wizard's hat, and then they shoved their head all the way up into it or something, into the cone part. Yeah, not really, but whatever. It's just I'll find something that works later. The armor is not as important. I do believe though that their armor is like, yes, they have some armor, but it's more like leathery. It has more like a studded leather thing going on. There's like obvious leather involved, something like that. I don't think the armor's gonna. I'm not gonna think too hard about recreating the look of the Abyss Watcher. No, but the swords. Now, in their offhand, they're unique here. This is why they caught my eye. Their offhand is a curved dagger. So they have a curved dagger of some sort, or a small short sword in their offhand. That's a little hooky. It's like a little jaggedy. Those are swords. So what can I do? No, the knife isn't quite there. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's sort of like a semi-hooked quality to it. Crystal knife. No. Glenstone Chris. Well, I don't want to be stuck up. Oh, the black knife. That might have the right look. They don't have any special quality. Like, I didn't see them use any special attacks from the dagger, so it doesn't really matter. And they are supposed to be touched by the abyss, right? So having like some sort of weird curse going on with the black knife could work for it. But we're going back to short swords. No, these are straight swords. Oh, I guess there are no short sword category. Let me look at curved blades. Anything that kind of... the Shamshir. No, it might be a little long. This curved sword kind of looks about right. And in terms of the main weapon, it's just it's like a Flamber's great sword sword. It's nothing particularly special. It's probably going to be a colossal sword, like the Zweihander. We'll just go from there. Now his the Abyss Watcher's ability are definitely like a sort of deal where they use an ability and then the sword's on fire, right? So that's an easy part. So where'd you go? There we go. Now I do know they have an actual sword you can get in Dark Souls 3. I haven't used it. I also did not play very much of Dark Souls 3. So, and this is also another example of a character who has a flaming slash sword. And it might have to be another thing, but this time, though, their blade isn't always on fire until they actually use an ability. Okay, let's see. Sword's not on fire, though. Okay. It has to be on fire afterwards. That's a trick here. It can't just be always on fire. Not like Pot of Sylvain, where it's always on fire. He has to, like, I know the sword, once he's like ignites it in the Abyss Watcher fight, it stays on fire for the whole fight. It's not until he does it, though. So we have to operate under the assumption that it is not active until... Ooh, this is tricky. There's no ability that's like a stomping fireball. Now the sword's on fire. Okay, so that works. So the trick here is I'm going to have to figure out some way to replicate... Because he's got like the huge dashes and then the... like all that stuff. So I'm going to have to work that out. But he has an offhand dagger. So how's this look? That's not... Okay, that's too big. How about this? A little dagger. New. It's got to be hooked. Oh, there we go. Hook. I mean, it's not hooked exactly like that. But at least it's hooked. What is that special ability? Quick Step. I guess I'm going to have to use like Quick Step and stuff. What about the Black Blade? It's not the same little hook thing going on, but it works. Okay, well, I guess I'm done with the Abyss Watcher, but you know, the Abyss Watcher was simpler. I mean, I like the simpler builds, but there's a lot going on here, even though it's a simple build. Okay, Abyss Watcher is viable. I do have other Dark Souls stuff here, but I don't want to do everything. I have a Dark Lurker build in mind, but and that one's interesting because it is a Mimic Tier Mage build. There's a lot of spellcasting going on, but I have not fought Dark Lurker in ages. All I remember is that he has wings, and he's a heavy spellcaster, and he clones himself. I don't remember what the exact spells are. So that one's going to take way more research before I start looking into it. But yeah, that's it for my Dark Souls builds. So now let's move to some of my other builds on my list. Ooh, here's a surprise, but he's not, he's well developed. I have a build for Wander. Do you know who Wander is? I actually don't even think that's his real name. I think it's like a code name. Wander is the guy from Shadow of the Colossus. Yeah? Why is Wander possible? Because of the Sword of Light. Right? The Sword of Light in the DLC. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a crude build is. So, Wander from Shadow of the Colossus, because of the Sword of Light that you get in DLC, the Sword of Light actually creates roughly the same light pattern that the Sword of Light does in Shadow of the Colossus. It's not exactly the same because the light pattern that sword creates in Shadow of the Colossus is just designed to identify weak points on bosses, right? But it's still that same, like, pattern of light, the way they shine, and obviously then in Elden Ring it actually burns and attacks creatures, but it's viable. I mean, what does Wander do? He has the sword and he has a bow. Now, he actually has other abilities. If you go through all the challenges in Shadow of the Colossus, he can eventually get a much heavier sword, which is it's called the Queen's Sword. I've only seen that movie once, and that was ages ago. Also, Unga Bunga builds, like caveman builds, are so bloody common and everywhere. Yes, it would be like creating a build from a movie, which is fair and what I asked for, but it's so simplistic and common that it's not really that unique. I basically pick up a really big hammer and I smash people in it, which, by the way, I just did yesterday. The last 2 days is what I just did. And granted, I wasn't dressed as a caveman, but I think I've got my bonks out of the way. I've gotten my bonking out of the way. And there was some big, massive damage from those. But Shadow of the Colossus, so there is actually a sword in Elden Ring called... Yeah, well, I guess throwing could work. But I don't think there's any throwing weapon in Elden Ring that looks like just a caveman's hammer, you know. there's lots of throwing knives and daggers, but not like a hammer. So Shadow of the Colossus, there is a sword in the game called like the Queen something. It's like the Queen's Sword, and there is a sword in Elden Ring called the Queen's Sword, so I get to use the Queen's Sword. He has a throwing spear, he has the bow. So even though it's probably not a powerful build at all, the Shadow of the Colossus build is possible with the Sword of Light. So that's there, but that is not a build that is really up for testing. I already have determined it works, so I really shouldn't bother talking about it. Okay, so here's one that honestly could take the rest of the stream to test. So I know I did World of Warcraft Death Knight. I actually did 3 whole streams dedicated because each and every specialization was different enough that I felt like it was warranted. But my actual favorite class in World of Warcraft is Shaman. Specifically the Enhanced Shaman. Now, I've talked about this in the past. And I said, no, I'm never going to do a Shaman in a World of Warcraft Shaman in Elden Ring because there's no way to recreate the totems. There's a lot of totems and they do many different things. It's just not possible. And that's still true. But then I've been looking more at consumables lately. Throwing pots, because I haven't really used them in Elden Ring for any reason. And I realized, a lot of those effects that the Enhanced Shaman has can be replicated by the throwing pots. And while I can't replicate everything, there's no way I'm going to cover totems. But if I at least cover the key core abilities that the Shaman has, enhanced, I'm not talking elemental. Elemental is a different kind of test. But the Enhanced Shaman, I can replicate the key points of playing the class. Like summoning totems to do this or that is really more situational, but the core gameplay might be possible. So, this can take a while. So where's my list? Okay. Oh, it's all the way at the top. Enhanced. Okay. So, first, if you're playing an Enhanced Shaman, well, first let's get you dressed, buddy. I need something World of Warcrafty, but for an Enhanced Shaman, we are talking, has to have that tribal earth quality. But you know what? Actually, picking the right armor for this can take a long time, so I'm just going to give him something just to get him dressed. We'll worry about the looks some other time. There's so much going on here just for abilities that I'm not going to think about the looks. So, first of all, now I know Shaman can use dual-wield daggers and hammers and all that stuff, but I'm not going to dual-wield hammers. I mean, I can, but I would rather not. They're not that great a weapon class, and then daggers are just too weak. So I'm going to look at dual-wielding axes, because I can use axes. Now, I know I could just use the Warped Axe because it's so powerful, but I just used the Warped Axe with the Frost Death Knight, so we aren't going to use that. Unfortunately, I want to go more tribal, so I guess the Jawbone Axe would work, but I kind of don't want to use it. Apparently, it's quite weak, and the reach is stupid bad. But anything World of Warcrafty works. I think the Sacrificial Axe works fairly well, but it's not really that important. I mean, I shouldn't get too worked up on what axe to use now. This is just testing. I'm just trying to see if this works. So I'm just going to grab these. I wouldn't use the fork hatchet anyway because they bleed, and I know bleed is great, but that's not really a thing in the World of Warcraft Shaman is not about bleeding. It's about using. Oh, this is a shitty attack build, and unfortunately, the Shaman are very fast at attacking, and whatever axe I use has to be dexterity based because Enhanced Shaman in World of Warcraft, they changed their primary stat to agility around, actually I think the first expansion, so it's got to be a dex based axe as well. I don't know, that's just me, that's just a personal thing. Actually, I personally prefer using hammers, two-handed great hammers and great axes. That's what they used to use, but they changed it. They wanted Enhanced Shaman to use dual-wielding weapons. I don't know. Everyone likes it. I prefer the big two-handers. Whatever. So, and I've never dual-wielded axes, so axes. Now, let's see. Let's look at my list. What else am I looking at here? Okay, so there are a lot of options. So first, we got to talk about the big thing that matters to them the most, and that is enchanting enhancing the weaponry. And thankfully, there's a lot of options. There is Crag Blade, which is Earth-touched weapon, not Earth-touched weapon. Earth-touched weapon was for healing, but that came way later. So Crag Blade, they could enhance their weapon with Earth attacks to do bonus Earth damage, right? And that is an option. That is essentially what Crag Blade is. So, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm too weak to beat any... Like, none of these weapons are enchanted, so I shouldn't even bother me doing this. And what Crag Blade does, from what I understand, is it basically just increases your damage. Flat base damage, nothing exciting. And also increases chances to poise break, stuff like that. And honestly, that's how Earth weapon in... WoW worked. That's how it worked. It works almost exactly the way Crag Blade does. And it's basically like the first spell that enhanced shamans. Actually, no, I think it's even the first spell that shamans learned. No, there's Lightning Bolt. So yeah, that works. Next, we have Frost Blade and Fire Blade. Flame Tongue. We're going to do a Flame Tongue weapon, and we are going to do Frost. I don't know. They can do a flame weapon and they can do a frost weapon. Now, what are my options there? Now, unfortunately, in this case, I wouldn't be thinking in terms of using any kind of spells or abilities, because there is nothing, like for axes, there's no ability that's just like... I use Crag Blade because it's the closest effect to replicating that earth weapon, right? But the fire weapon... But for fire and ice, there's nothing like that. I mean, I can use a spell that, like, cast a spell and then makes your weapon like frost and stuff, but that's not how they work in World of Warcraft. So in this, for fire and ice, I'd probably just enchant the weapon, right? Now here's the tricky one. For all the frost and crag blades and fire blades and all that stuff, the big one for Enhanced Shaman was Wind Fury. If you guys know World of Warcraft, you know what I'm talking about. Wind Fury it's the big one. It's the one that makes them fun. It's what made using big two-handed weapons so much fun. It's barely noticeable on the one-hander, but on the two-handers, when you had Wind Fury, you'd have a chance to gain bonus attacks, 2 bonus attacks at a much higher damage rate. So, and it would basically boil down to 3. You'd attack 3 times in one attack, with the 2 extras getting a huge bonus damage increase. And it was glorious when all those hits crit. I mean, it was very rare for all 3 hits to crit, but it was massive, and you can one-shot other players. It was fun. They changed that. Unfortunately, Wind Fury in Elden Ring, there is no equivalent. There is no spell in the game in Elden Ring that I just cast a spell on my blade or weapon and then suddenly it deals like 2 bonus attacks. So I think in terms of Wind Fury, I'm going to have to think in terms of what I think Wind Fury should be. Well, actually, you know what? I suppose Wild Strikes is not Wind Fury. It's too... I mean, unless I can do... Okay, well, let's see. I suppose I should think about in terms of, can I rapidly attack twice? So... Okay, here's Wild Strikes. Oh, that's the wrong weapon. Yeah, no, that's not Wind Fury. Okay. It's got to be fast. Okay, okay, let's try Sword Dance on an axe. You can use Sword Dance on an axe? Why can't you use Sword Dance on an axe? That's Wind Fury-ish. Okay. That works. I was honestly going to do something else. What I was going to do is I always felt that Wind Fury, because Enhanced Shaman in World of Warcraft aren't the best in terms of AoE damage, at least not at first. Early on, they didn't have much in terms of AoE damage, so I always felt that Wind Fury in World of Warcraft should instead be like every whatever few attacks, they have an attack ability that strikes them all. Like they basically create like a little whirlwind around them and they attack everything around them, and that would be like AoE damage for an enhanced shaman, right? So what I was gonna do for that was I was just gonna give myself one of the storm abilities or something and say, oh, that's Wind Fury, because you know that's I mean this ability is called Wind Fury, so maybe there should be some wind going on, you know? Do I have winded options? Yeah, Storm Caller, Storm Stomp. Let's try Storm Stomp because it's more. Nope, no, not that. No, I think it'll be the Storm Caller, but no, that actually works. Sword. I didn't know you could put Sword Dance on a axe. That is Wind Fury-ish. 2 rapid attacks. That works. Yeah, now I just got to figure out a way to be able to use it whenever I need to. Okay then, and don't forget, I'll be able to like put. Well, I think I should be able to put Frost on it. I mean, it's a little unfair. Whatever you put Wind Fury on, you can't put Frost. Like you can't put the same element on the same weapon. But you know, since I'm losing a lot of damage output, I'll make a pass and I'll give it a break here. So, yeah, that is Wind Fury enough. 2 rapid attacks. And even has a sort of spinning quality to it, yeah. No wind, but it replicates the result. I mean, I don't get a huge damage bonus when I do it, but... Okay, that works. Okay, now... So it's not too hard to replicate the weapons. I mean, Frost is not that much useful in World of Warcraft. Not for an enhanced shaman. It's really used it more for PvP, but it's useful in Elden Ring, so I'm going to have to use it here. Okay, so any enchant weapons, Cragblade, Frostblade, Fireblade, and all that stuff. Yes, that worked. Okay, dual wield axes. Dual wield axe must be dex center. That works. Storm spells, only thing. Okay, I don't have to do storm spells for Wind Fury. Braggart's Roar. Shaman's Fury is an ability in World of Warcraft that... oh, right, I'm silly. I forgot the most important thing about the enhanced shaman. So, Shaman's Fury is an ability that's supposed to like generate HP and increase damage, or no, damage reduction. Braggart's Roar pretty much covers that. I mean, I can't replicate FP. I don't. There's no ability in the game. Okay, I think there's an ability in the game that allows me to regenerate FP when I attack things, but I'm not entirely sure of that. But here's something that definitely is in the game. Spirit Wolves! Yes! That's the capper for an enhanced shaman was the Spirit Wolves. Or in this case, Spirit Cerberus. It looked like 3-headed wolf for a second there. The enhanced shaman does, in fact, summon Spirit Wolves. It's one of their... It was their capstone ability, I think, in the base game. And these are literally Spirit Wolves. There's 3 instead of 2, but still. So... I'm glad that works. I doubt they'll be any... Well, these guys are not nearly as good as the wolves in World of Warcraft, because those wolves not only steal aggro, but every time they attack an enemy, they regenerate HP for you. So... Oh well, but at least I have Spirit Wolves. So that's one of the reasons why this is possible, because of them, because this is a thing. Braggart's Roar, Summon Wolves... Lightning Shield. I have no idea how to replicate Lightning Shield. If there's a spell in the game of any sort that basically allows me to make it so that anytime anything hits me, they take lightning damage, that would be the option there. I have no clue if there's anything like that in the game. The shock spells. Okay, well, all shamans can use shock spells, especially elemental. Shocks were a big deal for shaman, and I have to be able to use shock spells. Now I realize though, as much as I like to have them on, I like to have actual spells that use that. I don't think there's anything in the game where it's just like, because they're instant. In World of Warcraft, the shaman shock spells were instant. They were called shocks, right? They're like you fire, just boom, they're shocked, or they hit with the fire attack, they're hit with the earth attack, with the frost attack. And I'm pretty darn sure there's nothing in Elden Ring that's just like like instant frost damage. Like like there's an enemy, you press it, boom, they get blasted with frost. So that's not a thing in Elden Ring. That's just not a thing in Elden Ring. But what is a thing in Elden Ring is throwing pots. So that's what makes that possible. So I can have some throwing pots to replicate the shock spells. Now in World of Warcraft, now I know throwing pots. There's nothing like a shock spell, and they're certainly not as powerful as actually finding a way to use any other spell. But I think there's a reason why I'm going with throwing pots. First of all, so the main reason is Flame Shock. Now, Flame Shock is an instant that hits an enemy with fire. But here's the thing about Flame Shock in World of Warcraft. Flame Shock does fire damage at first, but then it does a hot. It keeps doing bonus fire damage over time. So it's actually a fair bit of damage that can really add up, especially if those fire ticks crit, because the ticks themselves can crit too. So while there are fire pots in Elden Ring, the actual closest thing to that flame shock effect is the volcano pots, because they actually are fire damage hot, and they're actually quite strong, and they're strong enough to be like actually respectable in Elden Ring. So that's what I'd be using for flame shock. I know it's not the same as the flame shock, but in terms of replicating the result, it's the best for the damage, not the instant part. Everything else, though, well, now we're talking about, okay, first off, there's wind shock, but that doesn't actually do anything. It's an interrupt. It interrupts spells. Then we'd be talking about earth shock, and the closest thing to an earth shock in this game is just pure physical force, and that's the rock pot. And the rock pot is, well, it just takes too much to set up. I gotta have this stupid, it's resource based and it's slow. It takes so long to throw those pots. Yes, it's powerful, but I don't think earth shock is going to be a viable option. And then there's frost shock, which is just freezing damage, and there is no freezing damage. Like, there's pots that do freeze buildup but not freezing damage. And I might have to do a little extra research here, because there may be some spells. I don't know. No, but there's, I mean, the closest thing would be like Ice Crag, like, a spear, like something that throws frost damage. But that's a spell. And, well, I mean, I can actually use spells with a shaman. I mean, they are spell casts, but, enhance is more about melee damage. So this is possible. Glintstone, Ice Crag. Magma Shot. Actually, for an elemental shaman, Magma Shot would be the damn, but it's actually really hard to replicate a lot of the shaman spells in Elden Ring, especially their lightning, because their key thing is chain lightning, and there's no chain lightning spells in Elden Ring, at least from what I'm aware. All the lightning in Elden Ring is just like summon from the sky and blam from the sky, right? And there's nothing like that. That's lightning in Elden Ring, and shamans don't do that. So it's not going to be an option for me, and it's going to be a faith thing, and I can't have both. Well, I mean, I guess I don't need to be very high for. Yeah, no lightning spears, no lightning in that sense. Frozen lightning spear. Ooh, that's cool. There might be a lot of throw ball fire. That certainly works. Like, at least for creating an elemental shaman, that might be more work. Actually, that's even trickier, because without lightning, there's a lot of fire, but their only thing is like magma ball, and then frost, fire shock again. But that's a whole different thing. But I do believe the key things I have for the enhanced shaman. I mean, there's a lot of other abilities that an enhanced shaman has, but I just can't replicate them. I can't do totems. But at least I do have Braggart's Roar. I have the Ghost Wolves, because there is in fact a Ghost Wolf spell in Elden Ring, in World of Warcraft. I can enchant my weapons. I got the axes. So yeah, this one is possible. It is viable. It's going to take more work though than the other ones I just talked about. Smo and Ornstein was, I thought recreating Smo and Ornstein would be really tricky. But actually, that was not too bad. By playing Smo and then leaving Ornstein to a summon, made that possible. Going the other way around, I don't know if it would work because I don't think there's anyone that is like Smo. There's no summons that are quite like Smo. I am gonna take a break to get a drink of water. I'll be back in a couple minutes. I was thinking about that person who came earlier looking for a commission. I'm surprised. I thought I'd have to get like at least an actual audience before I start having people soliciting work from me. I figured I had to be at least around the 40, 50 viewer mark before that would happen. True. True. There are abilities in the game that are like, you know what? Divine Vow, Erd Tree, there are some abilities in the game that are like, you put something down, and as long as you're in that field, you know what? That's a good idea. I completely forgot about those abilities. Yeah, I guess that would be an option. Especially if it's a consumable. Oh, well, that's great. I shall write that on my list. Okay, I got that one written down on my list. So yeah, that's a good thing because now that I think about it, there's actually a few of those. Warming Stone, the Earth Tree Heal. I think what's that spell that increases all your magic damage while you're standing in one spot? Now, while that is not a shaman thing, actually that's a mage spell thing. I was actually thinking there. You know what? I'll just do this now because I wasn't really. I actually went through all the World of Warcraft classes trying to work out what would work the other night. So let's do this now. Okay, I think I determined enough that enhanced shaman would work. So if I started thinking in terms of a World of Warcraft mage build, now I was saying I've said in the past I wouldn't do mage builds because unless it was something interesting like Gandalf, which I still haven't worked out yet. But unless it was something like really interesting, most mage guilds or builds in Elden Ring are just mage builds. There's nothing really special about it. Like, oh, I'm going to create this mage from this game. Like, whatever, you're a mage build. You got to have like a very specific cadre of spells. So I started thinking about the World of Warcraft mage, and you know what? That might be possible. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to be as cool as testing weapons and spells or anything like that. Honestly, it's just going to be going through my list. It's kind of boring to just look through the spells, but yeah, actually, that's true. Even the House Shaman uses staffs. Even they can use staffs. That would actually be very helpful. Yeah, that's definitely an option, so I can use whatever's necessary. I think that would be more useful, definitely way more useful if I was going for an Elemental Shaman, because they are very heavy on lightning, on fire, frost, and most of the frost stuff is like our sorceries, right? And yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That'd be useful. That'd certainly make the elemental shaman more possible. Although the only problem with the elemental shaman is they're very heavy on lightning, and lightning spells in Elden Ring are spells that come from the ground or they're like thrown spears. And without being able to replicate chain lightning, like the direct zap, the feel is not right. Now there is magma ball and there is magma. I can create magma. We talked about frost, a frost shock effect. So that's all possible. That was going to take a little more thought, Elemental Shaman. But now I'm going to look at the World of Warcraft Mage, and it would be like the Death Knight. I would not do like just one build all. No, it'd have to be like each specialization would be its own run for a World of Warcraft Mage. But unfortunately, when I started thinking about Arcane, I just don't know if that could work for an Arcane Mage. The nice thing about an Arcane Mage is that I only have to think of a few spells. But is there anything like that? You need Arcane Barrage, and is there any spell in the game that's like... Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, there is a spell that's like Arcane Barrage. Crystal Barrage. Oh! But it's not a focus spell. You know, actually, I think about this. I think there's another option that can replicate Crystal Barrage. There's another spell. It's like Spiral. Where's the Spiral spell? Oh, there it is. Shard Spiral. Oh, that can work. Okay, that's viable. Unfortunately, I'm not built for spell casting, so yeah, I'll get to it. So Crystal Barrage, Arcane Blast. Now, Arcane Blast is a funky one because basically you point at an enemy and they explode. But where's Arcane Blast? Is anything in... I have not done any spellcasting builds of any kind yet in Elden Ring. I know it's been 2 years. I haven't... 3, actually, getting there to 3. And I have not done any kind of spellcasting builds. What is an equivalent to... Oh, okay. Actually, gravity spells have the right color. That's for sure. Ooh. Collapsing Stars. Meteorite, Calls Me... No. They're the right color. The Gravity Projectile, Meteor to Vestel. And then there's there's other key effects to replicate that effect from an Arcane Mage, is they have all this... Thankfully, there's sleep spells, sleep abilities in Elden Ring, even though it's pretty much useless, but at least when it can be useful, I can use it. So, Godskin Duo, and then there's the Terra Magica effect. That is also in... I think it comes later in World of Warcraft, but at least it's an option. I can use it. But I think I'm going to have to do more research for them. And then they also have something called... I think they have a straight... It didn't come till later, but they eventually get an ability that's like a quick... What is it? What was it called? It's like a quick blast, like a quick arcane blast that it occasionally activates, and you can shoot it off. All right, well, that one's going to take more thought, but let's go to Frost Mage. I actually started playing Arcane Mage in World of Warcraft, but honestly, that was a mistake because leveling up Arcane was not smart. Frost was the one you want to level up, and I actually ended up liking Frost later because Frost has more opportunities for tactical play, and that made it more fun when leveling. Frost shouldn't be too hard. In fact, I think there is actually a spell called Ice Lance. No, okay, so it's not Ice Lance, but it's pretty much like Ice Lance. So that's great. We need an ability. Freezing Mist is not the same as Cone of Cold, but it's essentially the same effect. So that's there. Zaymore Ice Storm. There's nothing like Zaymore Ice Storm. You know what? Does it? So like the blink. Oh, if that's true, that'd be great. So okay, so what are we talking about with Frost? Is so Freezing Lance. We got Cone of Cold will have to be covered by Freezing Mist because unfortunately that's the closest thing. Unless I'm missing something, I can't. I don't have any remembrance of spells, so I'm probably missing something in terms of remembrance spells. But I can use the Sword of Night and Flame, or not? I can because mages do use mage swords in World of Warcraft. They can use mage swords. Oh, maybe that's an option if it has like the right spell I'm missing. So we got Cone of Cold, we got Ice Lance, Freezing Shards, or what are they called? The Freezing Shard spell that blows up frozen enemies. I don't think there's anything like that in Elden Ring, because what makes freezing that spell special is that enemies take bonus damage when they're frozen, and that instant blast, like that super quick shot. Nothing like that in Elden Ring. Orb of Frost. Oh, I loved Orb of Frost. Orb of Frost was a hilarious ability to use in World of Warcraft, but there's absolutely nothing like that in Elden Ring. I think Zaymore Ice Storm is the closest I'm going to get for recreating Orb of Frost. And then freezing, whatever, the Freezing Aura ability. Sweeping Slash followed by Cold Blade Projectile. Actually, that could work. I don't know. I need an ability that could like freeze everything around me in a blast, but that Frost Mage does seem possible. Now, Fire Mage, World of Warcraft Fire Mage, well, first off, they're going to have to be more faith-based than... but we need... The trick with the Fire Mage is... Well, they have a lot of fire spells I got to replicate. Now, thankfully, there are options. I need a Fireball spell, any kind of fire spell. There should be... Throw a ball of raging fire, but is it like a fireball that goes like flying, like whips across, like at long range, not just like the ball I throw in my hand? Giant Flame take the... Well, thankfully there's a lot of fireball spells. I do know there's an equivalent for Pyroblast. I'm not sure. I actually did not play the Fire Mage very often. So, oh, right, here's the... Actually, I can use Frenzy spells. They count. They are fire. Actually, the Dragon... I think Pyroblast even kind of looks like... not Pyroblast. The one where the Cone of Fire, I think it actually involves like a dragon breathing its head... Like a dragon breathing fire. So that's an option, thankfully. No, I should look at these for the Frost Mage, too. Dragon Eyes... Oh, well, that's nice. I should have thought about the Dragon Breaths. Frenzied Burst. So they're definitely... Thankfully, with the Fire Mage, I only have to... I mean, the Fire Mage does have a lot of funny little abilities. They also have Fire Armor, which I don't think it's possible. I don't think there's any spell in the game that's like, here's some armor. Anytime someone hits me, it takes fire damage, right? But that'd be great, but it's not an option. But at least there are fire abilities, so I can possibly recreate the Fire Mage. Now, we started talking about the Fire Mage, but what I was really going to talk about was the World of Warcraft Hunter. World of Warcraft Hunter. I know I have the D&D Hunter is lined up, or D&D Ranger is lined up for next week, but the more I thought about them, the more I realized, because I was going to say, it's Hunter, D&D, you know what? D&D Ranger that covers it, but the more I thought about it, the D&D Ranger and the World of Warcraft Hunter are really not that similar. Not really. Because while the D&D Ranger is presented as being the hunter with the pet, sort of deal, that's not really how they're executed. Now, obviously, D&D can go in any way you want, but the D&D Hunter is actually more about dual weapon wielding. Now, they don't have to deal 2 weapons, but that's a big part of their kit. And yes, they have their animal companion, and because of the way their abilities are more built around like having a chosen. Now, granted, I haven't played D&D 4th or 5th edition. I don't care to, really. I don't need to. I know 3rd edition, but in 3rd edition, I don't know if it's different in 5th edition, but in 3rd edition, they had like a chosen enemy, and they'd gain bonus damage against those chosen enemies, and they'd have dual weapons, and they'd have the pet and the few little secondary spells that helped them out for like survival stuff, but that was really their thing. Whereas the D&D Hunter, well, I mean, D&D Hunter, the World of Warcraft Hunter, there's not much to say. They were bow users. They use bows. End of story. Yes, I know they use more abilities, but it's much more focused on using a bow. So it'd basically be a bow build. And the more I thought about it, I realized, it is possible to do a D&D Hunter, World of Warcraft Hunter. Now, in terms of bows, I don't really need to think about what to use with the World of Warcraft Hunter, because they have all sorts of ridiculous looking bows in World of Warcraft, so it doesn't matter. I can pick a bow that, when I do D&D Hunter, I got to use a more normal looking bow, because I know that's silly to say, oh, on your D&D, you got to use a normal looking bow, but I'm trying to set some limit somewhere. But World of Warcraft, everything is big, bulky, and funny looking, so I can pick any of these bows, and it'll work. But the real trick is the abilities, and see, this is the one problem having with the World of Warcraft Hunter. Yes, there's a lot of animal summons, but I would prefer if it was one animal. One strong animal. So that's what I was kind of hoping. Like, I already know what summons are available. What would be best if the animal was like a bear? Like, if you could summon like a rune bear or something. I'm actually surprised you can't, because there's a lot of summons you can get in Elden Ring that are like tough and tanky. So I'm surprised there isn't a bear a rune bear, or just any animal that's just tanky, because that's the key point about the World Warcraft Hunter. They can steal aggro, they can hold enemies. Well, oh, actually, you know what? That was a dumb thing to say, because where'd you go? Where'd it go? The hell? I'm hoping it's the big giant scorpion, because that would work. Yeah, you can tame scorpions in World of Warcraft. What the hell? Where is it? Oh, come on. Please be the big one, not the stupid little tiny one. But at least it was one animal. Okay, this would actually fix it. I completely forgot about the scorpion. But where the heck are you? Actually, might as well do a double check, because I didn't know the scorpion was there. So, okay, and I guess I can summon the birds too. I should say the birds count, Okay, yeah, the Stormhawks. I mean, I know it's like, why don't you just summon the multiple pets or whatever? But I don't want to. Okay, Rotten Stray. Yeah, okay, silly me. Now that I'm going over this, feel silly. I mean, the Rotten Stray is not very strong, but it's one pet. Warhawk. Okay, one animal. The jellyfish is one animal, but actually no. Okay, I shouldn't say this. The jellyfish. It's a spirit animal. It's like a magical animal, so it doesn't really count. The finger creepers, Grave bird, oh, wow, okay. I missed quite a few. The grave bird counts. It's a weird animal. Maybe it's more magical. I think it's more of a magical animal. Probably wouldn't count. But you can use magical animals in World of Warcraft, so I shouldn't be so picky. Well, that's the point of research. That's why I do this. I don't normally do it on stream, but, I couldn't think of anything else to show tonight. Shit. There are options. Okay, then. I have plenty of options. Crap. But let's see this scorpion. Where'd you go? Now, actually appear in front of me. Son of a bitch. Where the hell is it? Come on, I want to see the big scorpion. Well, now I know the options are possible. That sort of just made this build come together, and now it works. Where are you, you stupid thing? Son of a... Where the heck is it? I had the same problem with the putrid corpses. God knows where they show up. They can appear all over the place. Where the heck are you? Where's the stupid scorpion? I mean, I just want to see if it's the big one or one of the little ones. What? Okay, okay, you're not the giant one, but that's not bad. I don't know how tanky you are, but that's pretty good. You're not terrible. Okay, go fight something. Let's see what you do. Fight this guy. Or this guy. Ooh, nice. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, you don't just hit things, you send them flying. Ooh, you're fun. It looks like I'm gonna have to be a horde hunter. Because I mean, okay, any World of Warcraft hunter can summon whatever they want. There's no limit on what they can summon and what they can use, but I don't know, for some reason when I think horde, I think in terms of like boar pets and scorpion pets and stuff like this. So I guess I will be a horde hunter. Okay then. That solved that problem. I didn't know. I completely forgot that there was the scorpion and the rotten straight in the storm. Okay, I got options. I'm good. So now the main thing, okay, what else do World of Warcraft hunters have? I'm not going to think about all the different specializations. So the weapons are fine. Apparently the summons are fine. So now we are talking about, I'm talking about bow ability. Now I do know there's an ability called Aim Shot in Elden Ring. Or Mighty Shot. Great, so we got that covered. That is a shot in World of Warcraft. It's basically called Mighty. It's called Aim Shot, but I think this is the same thing. Actually, Enchanted Shot I hear is actually a better ability, but they basically work the same way. So through and through, I don't know if there's anything like that. I don't know the difference between Drake Hunt, but whatever. I'll just take whatever's most powerful. It doesn't make a difference. Sky Shot, no, not Sky Shot. Rain of Arrows is a big one because that is. That's an ability they use in World of Warcraft. So I got those main abilities covered. Now we gotta think about the abilities that are not covered in the World of Warcraft Hunter. So what am I thinking here? So let's bring up the list, take a look. It's not here. Lower on this Wander build. I got a bunch of other ones here. I got the Rogue, the WoW Rogue, WoW Paladin, but I'm not going to get into them tonight. WoW Paladin would actually be pretty tricky. Sure, there's plenty of heal spells, but I'd need like I know there's something like Crusader Strike, but there's nothing like Crusader Shield, or maybe there is. I'm not sure. Like a Crusader Strike the Shield. I need the ability to set like an AOE dot on the ground around me. AOE Holy. But anyway, back to the Hunter. Where is that? Where'd it go? Where is my Hunter? There it is. Okay. Raptor Strike is easy to replicate. So yes, I'd have a bow, but I'd also have to have. I think I should have like a two-handed axe. I know they can use a spear, they can use an axe, but I think I need axe or a spear of some kind. And Raptor Strike, all I need is just any kind of ability that's just like swing the axe extra hard, whatever. Lion's Claw, sure, that'll work. Some kind of trap. Now here's the trickiest part. Scorpion Sting, something that gives me poison from a distance. Because of the way poison works in Elden Ring, I'm not sure how I'm going to replicate it. Can you even make a... Oh. Oh, silly me. I can just use a poison arrow. Oh, okay. Right, I can just use poison arrows. Silly me. For Scorpion Sting. Let me get like an actual great bow out here, just in case it has an impact on what kind of weapons or what kind of abilities I can use. I don't know why I do that. It's just habit. No, and a great bow, there are even fewer. There's only one fewer option. No poison option. Okay, I can just use poison arrows. Okay, so that covers poison sting. Where'd that go? Scorpion sting, aim shot, or that's all covered. That's Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is an important one. Oh boy, Hunter's Mark. How the heck am I going to replicate Hunter's Mark? I got to see if there's any kind of spell or ability in Elden Ring that allows you to mark an enemy and they take bonus damage as long as they're marked. And I am not sure if there's anything like that in Elden Ring. I've never heard of it. And I'd have to be, and I can't do it from like I know there's stuff at close range where you hit an enemy and they're debuffed, but it's got to be from range. Because that's how Hunter's Mark worked in World of Warcraft. You select an enemy and they're marked and they take bonus damage. So it's got to be a ranged mark attack. I'm not going to worry about the special stings. I'm not going to worry about trying to replicate explosive shot. Because it's just, the only thing I can do there is just, use a cannon. I know hunters can use guns, but I'm not going to carry around, 3 weapons and a cannon, and plus cannons suck anyway. So no, I'm not gonna worry about that. Traps. Ooh, the traps. There really aren't any traps in Elden Ring other than pots, throwing pots that create like volcano shot again, but it have to be more explosive. So at least it's an option. And what else? What's another key thing I'm missing from World of Warcraft? I think I got all the key stuff covered. So still more research to do, but I think it's viable. As long as you get the core things covered. Oh, things like Bestial Wrath, just Braggart's Roar. I would love to have an ability to buff the pet, but again, I had to go with the Rallying Standard again. And I guess that's the same thing. It would buff both of us, but that's another weapon to carry. Yeah, I would say it's viable. It can work. Now, what else is on my list? I'm going to go through these a little more. Well, okay, I'm not going to do everything tonight. The whole point of this is just to give us, because I couldn't think of anything else to do for tonight. I was going to just play Marvel Rivals, but, I haven't played Marvel Rivals on stream for ages, and that's just... I'm not trying to be just a Dark Souls or Elden Ring channel, I'll play all sorts of different games, but this is just what I have in mind at the moment. It's like the only... I'm just playing games. I'm not big enough to just play games. I gotta do something a little different, and these build ideas are the only thing I can come up with, because it's a little different. I know there's always someone saying, can I beat the game with, just a finger up my butt? Or, oh, yeah, I beat the game with just using fists or something like this, But those are more like challenges, right? And, there's tons of guys who've done challenges. I'm not trying to do challenges. I got off on a tangent. Alright, so anyway, builds, roar builds, just showing off, I guess, some of the process of how I do this. Roar build, just using any ability that's affected by the roar medallion. It's a surprising number of them. Because of the Highland Axe has bonus to roars, anything that roars, and it stacks with the roar medallion, which that's quite a thing. So that's a whole build, and there's a surprising number of abilities that are affected by it. Recreating characters from Night Rain. Some of them are possible, most of them are not, but whoop, my list just sort of... So Bird Guy from Night Rain, it's possible. All I need is a halberd and a shield. Gotta use their starting default weapons. Because that's great. I know they can pick up any other weapon, but, you know, that's part of the fun. Bird build's possible. Use a big shield, use a halberd. A Chilling Mist can be his base. Like, I can use Chilling Mist to his minor. I have no idea how I'd recreate his ultimate at the moment. But I can use the spells that allow me to grow wings to, like, recreate the wing. I know he doesn't really fly. And I use armor, like there's the bird armor with the bird head and all that, and the talons, so recreate the look more than anything. I had a fun idea for the Revenant, because her default weapon is just claws, right? I know she's undead, but I just like the idea of giving her the bear claws, because her claw attacks are not like the claw, like the other claws, no. They're more like these visceral slashes, like tearing with her hands. That's a lot like the bear claws. So I just like the idea of this little girl with like in a little dress running around with the bear claws. So I mean, it's not much of a build, but it sounds too funny to not try. And really, her whole thing is just undead summons and whatever. I know she has more to it, but the default weapon, the claw, that sounds so funny. It'd be funny enough to try. She doesn't have much else to her though. The Duchess, they can't replicate her extra attack. That's all I really got for them. What else is on here? Jedi build. That one is okay. I'm not gonna really talk about that one because anything that I've already done this whole process where I've already gone over what works for them is. Let's look somewhere different for a change, so it doesn't look like I'm just standing here doing nothing. I'm actually talking a lot. The Jedi build, like any build that I've already determined works, I'm not gonna talk about here. They've already viable, so there's no need to talk about them. Although the Jedi build, the more I look at it, the more boring it looks. There's just not much to it. And also it depends what kind of Jedi you're trying to build. I'm just going with the classic Jedi, but at least there is a lightsaber in the game. I think it's called the Coated Sword. It's a lightsaber. It's a sword of light, so it counts. 100 hits. Fire Dancer. The remember I did Agris from Final Fantasy Tactics, right? Now, she was fun. But it turns out there's lots of Holy Knight type characters, so there's nothing unique about her. But just the way I was using her particular abilities, I had to use specific abilities. But really, Holy Knights in anime, there's all sorts of stuff. But I was thinking of doing she was Final Fantasy Tactics Holy Knight Agris, but I was thinking of doing an anime Holy Knight. An anime Holy Knight is literally just any spell from the sword whatsoever. And the Carrion Blade, the Carrion Sword, there's a weapon called the Carrion Sword that allows you to use the sword as a catalyst, spell catalyst. And I thought that'd be fun, but it's not a particularly unique build. But it's a fun idea, so that would be anime Holy Knight. Grim Reaper, honestly, with the Grim Reaper build was just Scythe and Black Flame, but I already covered that by doing what's her face? Sister Freed. And what else is on this list? FFT Monk, Classic Ranger, Well Hunter. We already did Well Hunter. D&D Druid is, yeah. Actually, we can do D&D Druid. Actually, no. D&D Druid is just plant spells, really. Like what are my options here for D&D Druid? Basically, I'd be summoning animals again, but it'd be only like spirit animals, magical animals that have a unique magical quality to them, which there are in Elden Ring. I need plant spells. If there's no plant spell, then it doesn't work. I know D&D Druids have way more spells than just plant spells. They have a whole collection, but I'm trying to maintain a theme here. So, plant spells. I know there's a bunch. I don't have all my remembrance stuff here. Like, I'm sure something there would cover it, so that's going to require more research. Blight Druid. D&D Blight Druid. That's a little different. Now I'm using Dark Plant Spell. Now I know there's like the Bloody Thorn spells. So that could work for that one. Okay, Ball Boy is just something stupid. I'm not going to get into that one. Just a stupid build. Killer Mushroom is already an approved build. So, Boomer build, anything. Okay, we did Boomer build. Boomer build was basically... was just Bomberman. Enemy Holy. Okay, Enemy Holy. Talked about. WoW Demon Hunter. I've never played the Demon Hunter in World of Warcraft. But so I don't know what their abilities are, and also I don't know exactly what I'd have to recreate, but the key for them is dual-wielding double blades, which is awkward, but it is possible, and dual-wielding double blades do hit a ton. They actually have lots of hits, especially if you do their jump attack. So that is a possibility, but I never played one, so I don't know what their other abilities are. WoW Priest, the World of Warcraft Priest. Ooh, World of Warcraft Priest. I would not do a shadow build. And for the same extension of World of Warcraft Warlock, I never played a Warlock. Well, actually, I did play a Warlock. I did not like a Warlock. But their abilities are not different enough, really, to get into World of Warcraft. I'm not going to do Warlock. Basically, it's just fire spells, some shadow spells, lots of dots, and there are really no dot spells in Elden Ring. Not really. So I have to summon a demon pet. There are no demon pets. There are imps, but they are not like the World of Warcraft imps. They just cast fire spells, so that does not. I can't replicate the effect. Even if I have an imp, it's not the same. So there's going to be no warlocks and no shadow priests, but holy and priest, that is possible. I'd have to find a spell. Let's look. I'd have to have a spell that recreates holy smite, and of course there's the healing spells. I even have urgent heal, like all sorts of healing stuff. But I do need to focus on damage. What about... I have all sorts of support spells for increasing damage reduction. There are even perfumes for giving, like... I forget what it's called now. Divine Shield. That's actually what the Paladin has. But, you know, that little temporary shield ability they hit that takes all damage instead of you. It's not... The perfume shield is not exactly the same. It just, negates damage for one hit. But, but it is there. It's a perfume attack. It's the perfume shield. But I need something that's like a holy smite, not a lightning bolt. Just holy damage. Just a straight increase magic for yourself and allies. Yeah, that's sure. Is there anything that's just produces golden shockwaves and not back foes? Oh, that's actually a spell in World of Warcraft. Right, the priest. What's it called? Holy Aura or something? Like they do a flash that can heal allies and hurt enemies. I think. Fires a golden shockwave that knocks back blow. That's not quite. I need. I mean, they really only have a couple attack spells, but heal from afar, blessing, self. Creates throat pouch? No, nothing like that. It needs to be like a blast of holy, not a discus of light, just a smite, just strike them with no golden rings, just one strike of holy energy, just plain hit, just whack, boom, holy damage. I guess, is this like a, what is Litany of Proper Death? Okay, well, maybe. Forder's Blade. I guess I'm going to have to do some research on this one. Just any holy spell that's just a straight strike of damage. Now, thankfully, one of their other holy spells also does fire. It does fire and holy. Well, okay, no, it's not actually fire and holy. It's just like holy fire. I think the spell's called holy fire. That does like a dot. But, I mean, whatever. It's holy fire in the name, so I can use it. Hone Bolt. Strikes with lightning. No lightning. Just holy damage. Dragon Bolt, no. Golden Arcs. Why does everything have to be an arc? Oh, there we go, Spira. Right. If it's the spell I'm thinking, yep, there we go. I mean, it's not quite the same as Smite, but closest thing I can think of. So, that'll work. Smite and Divine Beast, no. And I need something else that's similar, but like a fire spell. I'll have to look at that, but... Actually, Black Flame can work too, because it's kind of white and black. So, like, it has to come from the ground, from the sky, and then drop down. Summon circle of black pillars. Oh no, not around the caster. Has to hit a target. The Malgusto. No Beast Claw stuff. I should figure out a build that uses all the Beast Claw abilities, though. Alright, well, anyway, this does seem viable. Now I can't do anything like scare people away or send them running. I don't think there are many options in terms of HOTS, but yeah, that is somewhat viable, possible. I'm not gonna do. Why is Warlock on my list? World of Warcraft Rogue. I don't know. Poison Weapon. Honestly, that sounds too. It's basically the same as doing historically accurate ninja. Why is it even on my list? I'd have to apply poisons. I can't just be poisoned. Instant invisibility, which is kind of pointless. I'd have to have a dagger at least in one hand because I'd have to deal like specialized in back attacks, but you know, there is no back attack damage in Elden Ring unless you're either attacking regular enemies, which is fine, or bosses, but you know, you can't back attack bosses unless they're staggered, so it's not really a thing. I can still dual wield light swords and call it like a combat build. At least I can use Fan of Daggers, because there is an actual consumable item that shoots daggers. So, while World of Warcraft Rogue would work more if we're talking about the combat specialization, but in terms of like assassination and subtlety, there's no benefit to going to invisible in World of Warcraft. I can do poison, and there's nothing that stops me from using poison, but I'd have to have a dagger at some. I mean, it's not necessary because there are swords that have high crit rates, but I have to dual wield them, and but you have to have that dagger. It's a key part of. If don't have the dagger, it's not a World of Warcraft Rogue. At least there are swords that have high crit rates. It'd be better if I can do dual wield curved swords because they have the bleed. Because there's definitely some bloody stuff going on with rogues. So, and I can't recreate any of the combo abilities, but it works. It's just not that exciting. It sounds a lot like a historically accurate ninja. There's actually other things on my list, but I think I have done plenty. I have done plenty tonight, I think, to give you an idea of exactly this whole process of how I come up with these builds. And well, okay, not how I come up with them. It can be completely random. But how I go through this, honestly, this is just the simple part. This is just the first step. The second step is I now have to go through. I have to go through the list of all the spells and abilities to make sure I have all my bases covered, and even then I still miss stuff. And then I go through all the consumables, see if I have those, if I can replicate it through consumables, and then I have to go through the mixed physics because the mixed physics can replicate some effects. And then I just have to watch videos of going through all the names of all the spells in the game and all the weapon arts to see if I missed something or if some weapon somewhere has an ability. And then only then do we get the final step where I can say, here's a build, and then it's good enough to show up. So there's a surprising amount of time that goes into coming with these builds, considering no one watches them, but that is how it goes. And of course, I got to fit it in with all the other things I do, so it's tricky. I basically usually do this while I'm sitting watching TV at night, for a couple hours, right? But as far as this part goes, we're actually going to game and look at things. I gotta move this around. I know some people watching this with the sound off, they're probably thinking, "No, you're not doing anything. Who would watch this stream?" But there's actually a lot going on. But yeah, that is a glimpse into at least the first step and how I work out how these, it's really more the second step. The first step is conceiving them and then thinking about all the different abilities they have. And the second step is like actually going to Elden Ring and seeing what's possible. But anyway, yeah, that's a glimpse into this whole process. I would think this must have been pretty boring, but I got more interaction with people in this stream than I ever did in any other stream. So I guess it's still fun to theory craft all this stuff and to work out all these builds. So I know some people enjoy this stuff. I know D&D players, for example, love to. Sometimes it's more fun creating the characters and all the spells and abilities and weapons in D&D than it is actually playing the game, which is funny. So I know there's people that enjoy this sort of thing. I hope those kind of people were watching this, and I hope they enjoyed it. If they did, like and subscribe and all that. And, of course, enable notifications. You got to enable notifications. YouTube is not helping anyone out anymore. But anyway, this was a one-time deal. This was I had to pull this one off the top of my head. I didn't know what I was going to do, so I decided to do this. maybe I should just played some other game, or even just played the Rajput War, even though it was not that exciting. But I don't know. But thankfully, this is not going to happen again. The next stream will be an actual build, most likely D&D Ranger. I hope you join me then. Anyway, that's enough talking, because there was a lot of talking tonight. Anyway, see you next time, guys and gals. Good night. Well, at least I didn't have to record any of this. I mean, why would I record any of this?